Fortunately, in most of Hungary, there's no problem with the drinking water. Of course, there are some areas where there are issues, but generally speaking, the quality of drinking water in Hungary is good. Despite this, I'm seeing these simple water purifiers in more and more households. Usually, I see these simple pitcher-style solutions, which, well, obviously do something, since they have a filter cartridge. But they certainly can't do what the Hydrofast W100 can. You see, this machine has a 6-layer filtration system that filters everything out of the water that doesn't belong there. Metals, bacteria, fungi, everything that shouldn't be in there. So it produces absolutely pure water. But it doesn't just produce this pure water, it doesn't just remove these unnecessary substances from it, it also enriches the water with the right amount of minerals. And that's about all I wanted to say about how this machine works, because I'm no water purification expert. But I've gathered all the important information from the internet about how the machine works and what might be relevant. And I've tried to pass that information on to you in the written article, the link to which you can find on YouTube in the video description. So if you're interested in more detail about how the machine itself works and the principles behind it, please be so kind as to read the article, because in this video we won't be talking more about that. Instead, we'll definitely cover how the machine operates, how to maintain it, how to fill it, and why it works the way it does. In other words, I'll be sharing my experiences. Let's start with the exterior, because, that's maybe one of the most interesting things about it. As you can see, we're talking about this huge column that's taller and deeper rather than wider. This is good because, well, it can fit in relatively small kitchens. But you can see its size, so I definitely wouldn't recommend buying it for a very tiny kitchen because it will take up half the counter. But they made it as space-saving as possible because, as you can see, it's really not very wide, so it will take up a relatively small amount of your counter space. It doesn't have too many features. A large display up top, a drip tray at the bottom, and a water tank in the back. At least that's what you can see from the outside. The rear water tank is 4 liters. It has a handle that you can use to lift it up, take it off, and then you can put it back. I'm not going to put it back because to look inside the machine, you have to take the water tank off. Once you have removed the water tank from the machine, the next step is to slide the top of the machine back, making sure to do this carefully. After you have slid the top back, you can then lift it off completely. When you look inside the machine, you will see a 2-liter tank, which is designed to hold enough water for several uses, as well as 2 filters that help keep the water clean and ensure the machine works efficiently. As for these filters, one is for filtering out impurities, and the other is for replenishing the minerals. Both of them are replaceable, of course. One lasts for 12 to 24 months, and the other for 6 to 12 months, depending on how much water you purify with it. The system itself works quite well, at least from the perspective that this internal tank is a buffer tank. This means that you fill up the rear 4-liter tank with tap water. Then you take this 4-liter tank carefully and securely, hang it on the back of the machine, and when you turn the machine on, it will first flush itself. This applies to the first time it is turned on. It washes itself several times, and when it has washed itself, it then sucks 2 liters of water out of this tank and fills the internal tank, where it will already have purified water. There is not only purified water here, but there is also a UV LED in it, which continuously disinfects this water. So if, say, you go on vacation for 2 weeks and the water remains in the machine, nothing will happen. It will not rot because the UV LED, it takes care of that. I shouldn't have put the tank back in yet, because there's something about it that a lot of testers forget about and don't tell you, that this machine shouldn't be refilled. But what does that mean exactly? It means that in the water tank of this machine, but I'll show you, we have a maximum level, we have a minimum level, and the minimum level is quite high. That means there's still about when it says it's at the minimum level, and the display shows that it needs water. You might wonder why it needs water when there's still a whole liter left in the tank. Well, it needs water because when it cleans the water that goes into the internal tank, it actually pushes the pollutants and impurities back into this tank. So when we get to the minimum, we shouldn't just fill it up and add fresh water, but instead, this water is now full of pollutants and contaminants. You have to pour out the water and refill the tank completely. This is a very important thing. And as I say, in many places, in many descriptions, many testers forget to mention this. So don't refill the tank. You always have to refill it with completely fresh water once it reaches the minimum level. Let's put the tank back in. And if I put the tank back in, I'll show you how the device works. Well, we have this big touch screen here on the front of the machine, and there are buttons on it. Here it's 45, 55, 65, 85, 92, 98. This indicates the degrees. If you want hot water, you'll get water that temperature. There's a scale at the bottom. Here you can change the amount of water that comes out. 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, etc. You can preset the amount of water that you want to come out up to half a liter from the device. The use itself is very simple. You just have to press the on-off button and the water comes. When you press the on-off button, the water heat that is inside the tank will come out, so it won't heat anything. If you want to heat the water, the solution is very simple. You just have to press the button for the temperature you want. Just to show you how it works, and because I have a bit of a cold, I decided to make myself some tea and show you how the machine works. Decision. So, I'd like to get some 92-degree water. You can see the temperature of the water here, and the water is coming out nicely, which is what I need to make my tea. When I've reached the right amount of water, I simply stop it with the on-off button, and I can start steeping the tea bag in the hot water. So that's pretty much the whole operation. I don't think it's too complicated. Anyone can do it. It's also very important, by the way, that you see all sorts of important information on the display. You can see the purity of the water. You can also see, when you pour the water in, the purity of the water that's in it, and in comparison, what the quality of the purified water will be. You can see the temperature at which the water will come out of the tank, and, well, it warns you about all sorts of things. If the filter needs to be changed, if the water in the tank is low, and so on and so on and so on. So the device knows how to do all of this. And if anyone expected more from this machine, then I'm afraid I have to disappoint you, because it doesn't do anything more. It does exactly what I said it does. It will make incredibly clean water, and it's able to provide hot water in moments, which, for example, comes in really handy when making tea. There's one more thing I haven't talked about, and I absolutely have to mention it, and that is the taste of the water that comes out of the device. Well, if I have to describe it briefly, then I have to say you have to get used to it. You have to get used to it because we're used to water having some kind of taste everywhere. Sometimes it's a bit more metallic, sometimes more chlorinated, and tap water always has some kind of taste. This water doesn't really have much of a taste, so it's a relatively sterile thing that comes out of this gadget. You can feel that you're not drinking ion-exchanged water, so you can still taste some kind of mineral flavor in it, but at the same time you also feel that it's incredibly clean and sterile. And well, you really have to get used to this if you've been drinking plain tap water for decades. So if you buy a device like this, you might still find yourselves going for tap water for a while just on the side. And well, you'll be making Nescafe and tea with this machine, and obviously because of the preset temperatures, it's also great for preparing baby food, for example. So it has plenty of uses. We get clean water, we get hot water in moments. Well, that's about it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, then subscribe, like, comment, and well, watch one of the other 2 videos that appear here. I'm sure you'll like those too. And I'll be back soon with more tests. Until then, cheers everyone.